Hello again, RoyZesch.REALTOR here with Coldwell Banker Legacy in San Angelo. Today, continuing with my Healthy Living series, Baby Step 6, Eat Clean Meats. So, talk a little bit about meats. First off, you look at history and through most of the world today, Americans eat a lot of meat compared to other cultures. And really a lot more than we need to. Meat is a very important part of the diet. If the vegetarians, vegans, those kind of people, when they get into that, they have good short-term health benefits from most of those, but in the long term, there tend to be some noticeable negatives from a vegetable-based diet. There's just certain things that our bodies seem to be designed to get from meat better than other ways. But we, because of prosperity and a lot of it, because we can afford it, in America, we tend to go way heavy on the meat. Meat tends to be the focus of most every meal. And back to, earlier in the baby steps, it was eat veggies. Veggies are much less expensive, and so that's a way to save money. This again is where you kind of get into the things that can cost you more money, but if you listen to all my advice, you may be eating a lot less meat and be able to upgrade the quality of the meat you are eating, but yet because you're eating less total meat, then it's going to help with your cost of your diet. So, clean meats. So, interestingly, any of you are familiar with the story of Exodus as the Jews were leaving Egypt and God gave them the dietary rules. And what's interesting is, he didn't explain himself. He doesn't have to. He's God. But now research has been able to establish some truths to the things that he told them then. And so we know that the meats that he declared clean, which were, beef, sheep, goats, chickens, those type of things, particularly the four-legged animals, they have four stomachs, and so there's a purification process. What they eat goes through in their body, so the meat is literally cleaner. There's bacterial growth is much less on it versus some of the other things. There's some fascinating books on some of this stuff. But so I would suggest, and again, it's a suggestion, I can't make you do it, but to look at seriously the shellfish, the catfish, the pork, those kind of things, and really consider removing those from your diet because there are some documented today, scientifically documented health negatives to them. So that's part of the picture. So, but if you can cut back on the quantity you eat, that's not going to be as big a deal to do that. And not that you can't eat them ever, but there are some negatives. So that's part of it. Now, interesting with our modern agriculture system, we've talked about kind of off and on throughout the video series how focused our modern world is on very efficient agriculture. We can raise meat in today's world much cheaper than has ever been able to be done historically compared to other things. So, and that's part of the reason we're able to eat more meat. But what happens is a lot of this is what they call a concentrated animal feeding operation. So chickens, cattle in particular, but less so lambs, goats, and some of the other meats, pork, whatnot. They're raised in an environment that's not natural. They're just lots and lots of animals thrown together, feedlot type, close proximity where they don't have room to spread out. And as a result of that, the animals tend to get sick a little bit more. And so they tend to give antibiotics to them on a regular basis to try to prevent them from getting sick. And this very likely, again, I don't know that you can prove it from the research, has a negative effect on us because we're consuming some of those that remain in their meat as we're eating them. So that's part of it. The second part of it is they are frequently given hormones because it makes them grow a lot faster, particularly chickens. A chicken 100 years ago, well, first all, it was pretty rare for people to eat chicken in large quantities then, where it's very popular now. But it took them a long period of time and they didn't get near as big. So now because of genetics, they've really crossbred to make them grow faster. And what they feed them and hormones and antibiotics, they grow much faster. So it's a much shorter period of time from the egg hatching until having a butchering sized chicken. But it's true to an extent with beef and everything else. So they're giving them a diet of things that are not normally in their traditional diet. Cows in a feedlot are fed real heavy corn, grains with all the animals tend to be a large portion because it gets them to grow fast. They'll get fat fast, and be the type of food that the Americans are used to when they go in the grocery store to buy it. So, but these are not necessarily the best for health. So, you know, chickens, when they're grown naturally out in the pasture, they spread out, they eat bugs, they eat all kinds of good stuff. They don't eat a ton of grain. The same with cattle. Cattle are designed by God to be out in the pasture grazing on grass and stuff like that, not standing in a pen all day long with water and corn. So this produces some things that throws the omega-6, omega-3 fatty acid ratio out of balance, which is one of the reasons with, you know, fish oil and those type of supplements to help restore that balance, because we're supposed to get pretty even on that. But modern beef, it's way out of whack. The omega-6s are a lot higher than the omega-3s, and your body needs all of those. So there's some negatives to that. So if you can find, and it's a little difficult to find, grass-fed beef, you know, where the cattle have been run on pasture the way cattle have been run for all of history, then able to get mature at that, and then they're killed from that, then there's a lot different nutritional profile and really flavor profile as well. The animals tend to be a little bit older. There's a much richer flavor. It's not as clean tasting as the one that's been on corn, because corn is very clean, you know, type of product to have grain for. So, but there's just a richness of flavor that you tend to get with this, but it's a lot healthier. You have a lot more of the omega-3 fatty acids that, again, a lot of people try to get fish to do that, and that's a good thing as well, but just be aware of those kind of things. So the grass-fed beef, if you can find it, and it is more expensive. The other thing, even as we're talking about fish, is that a lot of the same things apply. Now, much of the salmon that you buy, and which salmon is a very healthy fish in its natural environment, but it's farmed. So much of the fish that you buy today is farmed. If you want salmon that's not farmed, look for Alaskan salmon, because they cannot have farmed Alaskan salmon. It's a requirement, a labeling requirement. So if it's Alaskan salmon, sometimes they'll have the species and stuff like that on it. That will tell you that it's not farmed, that it was caught naturally out of, you know, nets and hooks and stuff out of the ocean. So that can help influence a lot of the cleanness of your meats on that end. So clean meats. So clean both from a biblical Levitical perspective, but just clean as in the way that nature intended, that God designed the system to work, eating the diet that's natural to that animal. And so that makes a difference in the health consequences of all those things. So as always, have any more questions, give me a call, 325-268-0775, RoyZesch.REALTOR. Thank you.